Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the iHomeschool Hangouts Summer Wellness and Fitness Series. We are the iHomeschool Network with the bloggers getting together and talking about this. Is generally during the school year we do homeschool topics. Over the summer, we're going to be talking about health and wellness for families. And I'm thrilled to have some great guests with me here today, including the baby. My name is Diana Kennedy. You can find me at the Kennedy Adventures when I'm not working with the iHomeschool Network. And I've got a great panel of guests here for you today to meet and chit-chat with today. Amy Welling is with us as a special guest. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we'll move down the line. Amy?
All right. I'm Amy. I have a BS in physical education with my concentration being exercise science, and then my master's is in kinesiology with my concentration again being exercise science. My research was in physical activity for children and adults who have neurobiological disorders, so people who have ADHD, autism, Tourette syndrome. It was really interesting for me when I started studying it. I didn't really have a whole lot of idea what it was about, and then things started clicking for me, and I realized that the things that I was helping other people with were things that my eldest had problems with. So we got him in to see a neurologist, and he was diagnosed with ADHD, Asperger's syndrome, and Tourette syndrome. So I thought it was really interesting that the things that I was researching, I guess subconsciously I already knew that it was something that we were dealing with. So we've always been fairly physically active with being in exercise science. So yeah, anyway, I guess that's it for now.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing your input. This is going to be a great hangout. I'm going to introduce my friend Colleen Kessler. Colleen.
Hi, everybody. It's Colleen from RaisingLifelongLearners.com, and I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties today, so I'm hearing things on a delay, and we'll do the best I can to keep up with my end of the deal here. If you follow me or have for a while or have seen some of my hangouts that I've done here with IHN, you know that I have 4 kids. They are gifted, and 2 of them have special needs as well. We deal with sensory processing disorder, ADHD, a lot of impulsivity and hyperactivity. And a handful of years ago, my son was in school, and we tried different medications and things to keep him doing what he needed to do in the classroom with lots of backfires, and went into it with some trepidation. And what we discovered is he's highly sensitive to chemicals and had just about every side effect in the book to every single medication that we've ever tried, and it was getting to be where it was difficult for him, it was difficult for us, and it was just a heartbreaking situation. So we decided to try revolutionizing the whole way that we lived and eradicating chemicals and additives from our diet as best that we could, and we pulled him out to homeschool him after both my husband and I had taught for years and years, and my husband still teaches. And we have embarked on a much healthier lifestyle. We do, in the interest of busyness and time, indulge periodically on, pizza 3 or 4 days a week, if you were watching the Hangout last week, and other times, just to survive during busy seasons. But for the most part, we cook from scratch. We avoid anything with artificial colors and flavors. We try to get the kids outside moving as much as possible and moving throughout the day as much as we can, and we adapt and change the things that we do or the things that we need to do in a way that can accommodate their needs to move and their needs to fuel their bodies with healthy foods, again, within reason and with some balance. So.
Excellent. I love that idea. And it's you got me thinking as I'm listening. I was thinking about this standpoint this hangout from a standpoint of diet and exercise. And then listening to you, I thought, oh my gosh, we can actually probably go off on another tangent about chemical exposure in our kids too. So I'm going to try to stay a little focused on the nutrition and diet, and then maybe touch on some other things just a tiny bit. Marlene Griffith is here with me today too. Marlene?
Hey guys, I'm Marlene Griffith. I blog at adiligent.heart.com about family, faith, homeschooling, a little bit of everything. And I'm excited to be here today to hear what everyone has to say about keeping healthy as a family. And I will be bringing in your comments from the event room or on YouTube if you're over there. So if you have any questions, just drop them in there and we'll bring them in for the panelists to tackle.
All right, awesome. So today, like we talked about, we're going to talk about getting healthy as a family. Some of our panelists' first talking point, which is who or what sparked your interest in getting healthy as a family. I'm going to kick it back to Amy, actually, because she talked about, I'm guessing that probably your son was kind of the catalyst, but I'm going to let you kind of take it from there. So tell me about what sparked your interest.
Actually, I've always lived a fairly healthy lifestyle. My dad was in the Air Force, and my parents thought it was important for us to be able to explore the places that we lived and try local foods. So they made sure all 7 of us got to experience all sorts of things while we were moving around the world. And then my mom, since she was a stay-at-home mom to an active duty lower enlisted when all 7 of us were born, and then eventually he made higher ranks. But she had to keep things really tight, so we were limited on unhealthy things. We didn't get soda unless it was a special occasion. We were limited on sugar intake and things just so that she could keep costs. Encouraged us to play outside and do things that were fun for us, that were really low cost for them since they didn't have the money to do it. When I was in undergrad, I started to fall away from things. I was a single mom working 2 to 3 jobs, taking 15 credit hours, trying to just do what I needed to do to hurry up and finish school so that I could support us. And we did things that weren't as healthy, like we were eating out fast food 4 or 5 days a week. We decided that since I didn't like the way that I felt, that we would go back to the way things were before, and eating a healthier diet, being more physically active. And my son at the time, when I finished school, or when I finished undergrad, he was almost 5 years old, and we moved back to Southern Illinois for grad school. He decided that he was going to eat healthier than he had been too. He came to me and said that he needed to eat more fruits and vegetables, so we started going to the farmer's market more together and doing things like that. So it's kind of just always been a staple in our life with the exception of a couple of years.
Awesome. I love hearing that it came naturally to you as coming up. That sounds a lot like how I grew up, not in a giant family. But right, Cokes were not a staple when we were kids. We ate a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables that we grew ourselves mostly, and we were outside from sunup until sundown, especially during the summer. I'm going to kick it over to Colleen, and let me know if tell me if there was a particular incident that got you all thinking more about getting healthy as a family together.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, this is really challenging to follow. Just for the watchers and viewers and listeners out there, I'm hearing things on a delay and catching things here and there. So they're feeding me the questions through a chat, just so you know why I'm a little kind of disconcerted here. So I'm coming in not hearing what's being said before me. Okay, so what got us started? We have lived a fairly healthy lifestyle as long as I can remember. Actually, my husband and I met playing softball. I played sports all through high school and college, and so it was always part of our lifestyle. And we didn't eat a lot of junk just because we were very athletic and active, but we did. And when we had kids, it was really easy to throw fruit snacks in their lunch boxes and whatever was easy to grab, or just color their food for holidays, green food for St. Patrick's Day, and we still do a little bit of that. But really, the catalyst was not was the was Trevor's issues. He's 5.5 years older than my second child. We have Trevor's almost 12, and then my next one just turned 7. And so he was kind of an only child for a while, and we started having issues with him in school and outside of school and other issues. And he didn't have straight out allergies, but he definitely had sensitivities. and we experimented with eradicating different types of foods and different types of chemicals and dyes and preservatives and additives from our diet to see amazing results, which then started us on the path to questioning what we were doing to our own bodies, even if we weren't as sensitive to as he was, how that long term would affect us and then the younger children that we had and hoped to have at the time. Um, and just his sheer need to move all the time challenged us to find different ways to keep the kids exercising and moving, from, Wii Sports in the wintertime to keep them, moving inside, to a trampoline, that pretty much an exercise trampoline that set up residence in our foyer. And in order to get into our old house, you had to walk around it to get anywhere because it was so important to have that available for them to jump and climb, and trees in the back and a play set. So the biggest spark to making it a family thing was Trevor's needs and sensitivities, which then has trickled down because now our youngest is 18 months, and when we kind of fall off the wagon of eating healthy, exercising well, and making good choices, we notice it for a good 48 hours afterwards. We struggle with sleep patterns and behavior patterns and just, fatigue and crabbiness. So we keep going because we see the results and we see what works.
Sorry, I have my microphone like totally off. Sorry, guys. I love hearing your stories, Colleen, and it actually inspires me to do a little bit better about the things that we're doing with our kids' diet too. And you actually got me thinking about our next point. You mentioned that you and Brian met during playing softball, and I didn't know that. Um, Kind of a segue here. The reason that our family is a little bit more healthy, I'm not like Amy. I certainly did not, or Colleen, I did not grow up athletic at all, period. But when I met my husband, he's an athlete. Played soccer in high school and college and loves the outdoors, scubas, runs, bikes. I mean, the whole kit and caboodle. There's probably not much that he hasn't at least tried once or twice. So he is my spark to getting a more healthier lifestyle because I got to keep up with an active guy, and with lots of littles in my house, they're kind of like their daddy, and they're very active too. So if I'm not in not tip top shape, but I mean, I need to be able to be healthy enough to run after them and keep up with them and have fun together. For us, being healthy as a family is enjoyable. It's being able to run after the kids at the soccer field and not be winded myself, or be able to hike up in the park with them and enjoy looking and finding things. So let me talk about that. Tell me if your husband, I'm going to kick it back to Amy. We'll just kind of go down the line. Is your husband on board with this, or is he on your team, or you kind of had to drag him along? How does it work in your family, Amy?
My husband's been on board with it. Our first date that we went on actually was going to the rec center on campus, and we played basketball. Our second one was we went out to the Little Grand Canyon here in Southern Illinois, and we went hiking and exploring and finding different things to climb on and rocks to climb on. So we've always done a lot of physically active stuff together. My husband practices Southern Praying Mantis Kung Fu, and so he has his own physical activities that he does as well. So we always try and get the kids to go outside with us. Since we live in Southern Illinois, it's not like the rest of Illinois where it's all flat. We actually have hills and cliffs and gorges and a lot of things that we can go and explore down here. So he's always been on board with it. With the healthy eating, he's always been on board with that too. When he was a kid, his parents would rent farms from people, and they'd go and, well, they lived on the farms. They'd have their own gardens, and they had chickens, and so they ate a lot of stuff. And for 7 years, they were vegetarians. So, whenever I talk about eating less meat, and in our house, we usually only have meat maybe once a week, and that's only for the people who actually eat meat. 2 of our kids refuse to eat meat. I usually don't eat meat because I don't like the way it tastes. So it's not a big deal for him when I say, hey, let's not have meat for a couple of weeks, or when I tell him that I want to eat vegan meals for a while. He just rolls with it. It's not a big deal to him.
In our family, my husband is sort of the diet. I wouldn't call him a diet guru, but he absolutely helps us to toe the line about what we're eating. He does a lot more research about things that we should be avoiding diet wise. Like, and Colleen, I'm going to pick on her in a second. Um, I think she's probably the spearhead for her family's dietary changes. Whereas in my household, it's absolutely bread, or else my pantry would be filled with Doritos. I'll be honest with you. Colleen, talk to me about Brian, about your husband. Is he on board with your all's like movement toward a healthier family, or are you kind of having to drag him along a little bit?
This is okay, really strange. I think I'm supposed to be talking now, but I kept hearing Diana still talking. So, yes, my husband is on board with me. He I do a lot of research about everything I do. Way, 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 lots and lots of research. So before we start anything, um, if it's me spearheading it, I pretty much have reams and studies and uh, um, links for him to read, and he skims through them and just kind of goes, okay, okay, I'm sure that you've done the research and it's probably a great idea, so go ahead, we'll try it. um, and that comes down to even years ago when we first started on all of this. We were grinding our own wheat, and we do that a lot still. We bought a wheat grinder way back then, and he likes the taste of the fresh ground wheat better um, now than regular flour, you buy at the store. And so that's kind of a cumbersome little machine. And so if I say, hey, I need some flour and I want it to be a mix of these kind of grains, he will go do it for me because he would rather have it than not have it now. So I would say yes, he's on board. And like I said, we met playing sports, and so he's always been pretty active. Of course, now with 4 kids, it's a little harder to play softball and things, and so we don't have a lot of time for that. But this past year, he's realized that he's kind of started letting himself go athletically, and a friend of his uh, and he kind of concocted an idea to get back healthy together. They're both teachers, and so at 6 o'clock every morning this whole summer, they've met for a walk, and they walk and they jog, and then they go have a cup of coffee at Panera, and they're home a lot of times before we're even up, and that's been really good for him. Um, and it's also made him better about he's more of a binge eater than I am. If I'm hungry, I'll eat. If I have a sweet tooth, I will have a candy bar or something, but then I'm done. I'm blessed with like a quick metabolism and kind of that easy shut off if I can tell myself to stop. And it drives my husband crazy because if there's an open bag of chips, he's programmed to eat through until it's empty and then throw the bag away. And I've never been like that. I can satisfy my craving for whatever with 3 chips and I'm fine, or more if I want more, but I can stop it. And so meeting with his friend and having that accountability has been good, because when there's a bag of open goldfish crackers, which you have when you have children, or fruit leathers or whatever, he will turn it down more often now than not, and he'll choose to either snack on some hummus or some vegetables that I've cut up in the refrigerator, or wait until the next meal, because I do the cooking. Way early on in our relationship, we realized that my husband doesn't really cook and has the ability to like burn mac and cheese or water or hard boiled eggs. And I loathe doing dishes. It's like mind numbing for me, and I would much rather do 400,000 other nasty chores than dishes. And so we made up an agreement that I do all the cooking and he does all the dishes. And that even stands, if we're on top of our chores and stuff, that stands for the days that he goes to work and I'm home with the kids all day. I can just leave the dishes in the sink and he'll come home and he'll do it when he first gets home, because that's one of his jobs. He likes unwinding that way. And then I can always have healthy food and healthy snacks for us and the kids, and leftovers from lunch for him in the refrigerator to grab when he gets home from work, without having to worry about the mass amount of dishes in the sink, because he'll tackle them happily. And so that's one way kind of we work together to keep this healthy lifestyle going, because it's a lot of work to cook everything from scratch and, plan your snacks out and make sure the kids are getting small, healthy meals throughout the day. When you're home and you're homeschooling and you're working from home, to have to tackle all that prep and all the cleanup all by yourself is a challenge. And my kids are still young, and although my son is 11, he is a boy and does not clean dishes very well. That is not a job that I'm going to happily hand over to him. So it really helps us maintain that lifestyle, and we work together well that way.
It's all about working together as a team, and we've talked about this before in previous hangouts. There's been a homeschool dads hangout. We talked about, like Colleen alluded to, food prep. We did that a little bit earlier in the summer when we talked about, I think, healthy eating habits for kids. It was just a few weeks ago, I believe, about all these things that you can do to kind of help your day out. And like Colleen said, it's not about taking it all on yourself. And she's exactly right. Eating healthy, getting healthy, it takes some work. It's not like you're just gonna wake up one day and magically you suddenly have time to exercise, or you suddenly have all of these things, these delicious meals already prepped and ready to go. It's a mindset, and I think if you take baby steps, like I know Colleen does a lot of meal prep ahead of time, to make things a little bit easier, snacks for on the road, that sort of thing. Um, I'm a planner and a check marker. So if I'm wanting to incorporate more exercise into my world, you better bet you I've got like a plan ready to go. I'm going to exercise, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or what have you. I love that Brian is getting back to being more accountable and taking care of himself. That's great. My husband's is exercising more this summer as well. So I think you get to a point, I think, where you think, okay, something's got to give, and then you move to that. Let me talk to let me see, like, hear from the girls. Is your focus more exercise or eating when it comes to healthier family? Let me pick on Amy first.
We do a little of both, actually. Actually, with exercise, it's not exercise. Even though I'm an exercise physiologist and I can write people, exercise programs, and I've worked with people who've had multitude of different diseases, cardiopulmonary diseases, when I did my internship and everything, I hate exercise. If I have to sit there and do the same program every day and lift the same amount of weights every day, it drives me crazy. So what we do is we build more physical activity just into our daily life. 2 years, 8 months ago, my children and I were in a head-on collision with a young man, and he had been smoking marijuana, and he was really high, and he lost control of his vehicle, and I had the engine block of my van land on my right ankle, so it destroyed the ankle joint mostly, and we had to do reconstructive surgery and fix it up. But the biggest thing that we did after that was we didn't replace my van. So we went back to being a one-car family. And when the children and I want to go somewhere during the daytime, we'll walk to wherever it is we need to go. Or there's college here in town has a bus system, so sometimes we'll hop on the bus and take us part of the way and then walk the rest of the way. A couple days a week, we'll walk down to the grocery store with our wagon, or to the farmer's market that's on the east side of town here where we live, and pick up what we need there and bring it home with us. Other things, forced physical activity. I don't have a couch in my house. I can add pictures to the event room later so that people can see, but we got rid of our couch. So the kids have to stand or sit on some pillows or do something else. But a lot of times they're playing in the living room anyway. Right now, the younger two are being entertained. They're 5 and 3 with an adjustable height table that we have that I put the leg under for part of it and then lowered it down so it's like a slide. So they're in there sliding on the living room. We've got a stationary bicycle in our dining room for them to be able to ride whenever they want. Where I'm standing right now is actually a treadmill desk, and I have a picture of it on my Google Plus page if anybody wants to see it, but it's just a 5-foot height table that we put over the top. And so we walk while we're using the computer most of the time. Of course, not while I'm on Hangouts or while I'm video chatting with people because the noise is kind of excessive. But just little things to add into our life. There are hills that are by where we live, so whenever we go to the park, I'll tell the kids we're going to race up the hill to see who can get there first, and they'll race up the hill with me. Or using the kids as a weight for exercise. The little ones will lay across my arms so that I have them like a bar, and I can do bench presses on the ground with them, or they'll sit on my feet and grab onto my legs, and we do leg curls with them. We do it with our older, or I do it with our older boy. The leg curls, I can't do the arms anymore because he's 5'8" and he weighs 145 pounds, so he's a little past my limit for my arms, but he does it with my legs still. With eating healthy stuff, it's mostly just walking to where we want to go, and the places that are near us on this side of town, it's the farmer's market or one of the fresh produce stores, so that's what we have nearby. That's what we can get. Our oldest boy, he's really started cooking more. He wants to be a chef when he grows up, and so I've been giving him, he's had food freedom for a long time, but he has full control of the kitchen now. If he wants to go in there and make something, he'll go and get the supplies, or he'll add the things onto the list, and we'll pick up whatever it is that he wants to make. But so we try and keep both food and exercises, or physical activity actually, as part of our lifestyle.
Awesome. We're gonna have to talk about that story about the wreck later. Bless your heart. And then Marlene is over in our own little chat room going, "Oh wow, treadmill desk," and I'm seeing that a lot on Pinterest. I also saw something about and Colleen and I may have to try this with our wiggly kids. Using an exercise ball to sit on at the table rather than chairs, kind of keep your kids moving a little bit more. My kids all would love that because they're constantly like leaning. They have the chair on one leg always, and it makes me insane. So I think I may have to institute that a little bit. Colleen, let me tell me what's your focus: exercise or eating healthier?
Um, Mostly our focus at this point is eating healthier. Though that being said, I can't really separate it completely because my kids need to move. The two that have sensory issues, they need constant movement and touch. In fact, my 4-year-old, she'll be 5 in 2 weeks, was hanging on just about she hangs on everything. So we've got towel bars falling out of the walls, and the railing going down to the basement is loose. The kitchen refrigerator handle is loose, and we have a half door in the refrigerator, or a half door in the kitchen that she hangs on and now drags along the rug that's in there because she just shifted the hinges to such a point. And so there's a loft bed in their room, and I have shown her the points on that bed where she can hang from without damaging anything. And this was prompted by her saying to me after I had yelled at her numerous times for hanging on different things, "But Mom, I just need to hang." And so I found somewhere for her to hang. Um, and so she needs to climb, she needs to move, she needs to hang, she also needs like deep pressure. So I roll her in blankets and kind of rub on her periodically, and that helps. Um, and I'm sorry, my email is now beeping. If you're hearing beeps, this is one of those days. Um, but so she needs that kind of movement, and my son needs to run. I used to joke, and I don't know if I've said this in any Hangouts before, but before uh, I started my blog, when I was kind of brainstorming names and thinking about what I was going to talk about, I joked that my blog should be called Laps Around the Cul-de-sac because we lived on a cul-de-sac at the time, and at any moment of any day, one of us was walking or running or biking in circles around the cul-de-sac because when Trevor would need movement, I would send him out to do one of those things around and around and around until he could feel himself calming. Or I would be walking because I knew that I could see my house and the kids were safe inside and I just needed a break. And then as the kids got a little bit bigger, we would just send them around. It was a safe place that they could just run in circles again and again and again. And so we joked that that would be the perfect name for our family because we always feel like we're running in circles, and a blog from that name would be great. But anyway, we went with something else. So exercise is integral into our family, but we don't go to gyms. And two of our kids play sports. One's too young, one has no interest, so he rides his bike around the block, or back and forth up and down the street. He climbs trees, anything that's stationary. In fact, we've had to teach him not to climb decks at people's homes because not everybody likes their things climbed. Um, and and so there's a lot of coaching in that. When is it appropriate and when is it not? Um, so, so yeah, I think it's kind of a split focus. My personal focus is eating healthier because I have to control that and I have to take charge of that. They're going to exercise because they're wired that way. So I don't really need to push that as much. I just need to give them time and get out of their way. So.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because I hadn't thought about that. With our kids, mine and yours, and I bet Amy's too. I know Marlene's are active. Um, you're right. I do run across kids in my day job as an ER nurse sometimes that who aren't as active, and it's funny that I wouldn't if I had a child who did not enjoy physical activity, or you had to kind of help them along to kind of get them in that mindset, I almost wouldn't know what to do because just because I'm just so used to my kids being so active and so energetic, I wouldn't know where to start. So I'm going to pop to Marlene. Do we have questions that I need to address before we wrap up here?
No, we don't actually.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up with our panelists to share some of their tips. What like if you were approached by a mom and she had trouble getting her kids on board with a healthy lifestyle, what type of tips or advice would you give to her? And I'm gonna hit on Amy first.
All right. So doing more physical activity, finding activities they love. Our oldest boy, he doesn't like sports. I've always tried to get him to join T-ball because when he was a kid, I always thought it'd be so much fun to coach T-ball or coach kids sports. I played basketball, I ran track, I was in cheerleading, I played softball growing up. So I always thought it'd be a lot of fun, and he didn't ever want to do it. So we found that he likes biking, he likes to ride a scooter. So those are things that he can do that are physical activity he enjoys. He also likes to race me. He's always loved to race me and show me how fast he is. And now, since he's adult sized, he is so much faster than me, especially since the car accident, since I can't really run anymore very well. He blows me away whenever we have races to go places. With our younger ones, it's making our house into a safe place for where they can play. During the summer here, it's really hot and humid, so going outside and playing isn't something that we can do. So we have, things we can set up inside that we can do to play, or wait until it cools off so that we can go and play outside. During the spring and the fall, we're always out there playing, but in the winter and the summer, the weather's just too much for us. So doing things inside that you can do. When you go to the store, parking away and walking in, checking and seeing if your mall has a schedule. We go and mall walk when the weather's not nice. For food, finding foods that they like and just making them healthier. Our youngest kids, they're really picky on foods, and we don't force them to eat things because I found with our oldest, when I tried to force him to eat things, he fought me so much. So we kind of have more food freedom in our house than in most households, but finding things that they like and then making them a healthier way. So if they only eat white pasta noodles, switch out a quarter of the noodles for whole wheat noodles and then slowly work on to something that's a little bit different. Cutting out, instead of using sugar and everything, white sugar, use some honey, use coconut sugar since it's lower on the glycemic index, other little things, I don't know. A way to up fruit and vegetable intake is with the smoothies. My kids love smoothies. They don't like green smoothies, but they like purple smoothies. So you throw a bunch of berries in and a handful or two of spinach leaves, and they will eat that all day long. So just finding little things that you can tweak to what you're already doing to make it more acceptable to them if they don't like it, and then slowly you can overtake their lives with physical activity and better diet. So.
Well, I love that she reminded us it's all about baby steps, and she gave us some great information. I never thought about purple smoothies. And if you want more tips about eating, we did hang out, like I said, a few weeks ago about eating healthy for kids. So there was some great stuff shared there too. I know Colleen's going to share some of her best tips to get kids on board. Colleen?
Yeah, again, like I think I heard Amy say a little bit, switching things out slowly, not making it a crazy, insane lifestyle shift where it's all for all, all or nothing. Easing kids into it is always good. It's easier with the younger ones, obviously, because it's all they know. It's all they know. Isaac is 18 months and Logan's 4, and neither of them have ever had white bread or that that kind of stuff. They haven't had a lot of packaged foods, packaged snacks. So that the healthy eating was a little just slowly and more gradually. But when the refrigerator is only stocked with cut up fruits and vegetables and cheese sticks and yogurt that we've made in the crock pot and cookies that we've baked the week before, muffins are in the freezer, they don't have a lot of options to try to whine about other things that they're looking for. One thing that has worked really well for us from an eating standpoint is whenever we do make those smoothies that Amy was talking about, we always double the recipe and we freeze them in popsicle molds. And those are fair game. I have no problem with them eating them at any point, including breakfast, which they think is getting away with something, eating a popsicle for breakfast, but it's yogurt and fruit and spinach. We throw spinach in there too. And so they can eat those all day if they want, and they think that they're getting away with something and pulling something over on me. Um, Exercise-wise, they it's like I said before, it wasn't that difficult to get them on board. That being said, when Trevor was our only child, we tried him in t-ball and pee-wee soccer and all that stuff, thinking that like his parents, he was going to be this really athletic kid. We got our boy. He's got no interest in that. He would rather build Legos and program computers and do things inside if he could. But then if he's cooped up for too long, and if he does get interested in a project or an idea, he will sequester himself into a room and just hyper focus on that. So we do have to pull him out of himself and send him out to ride his bike. We just let him know you can have more time on your computer or with your Legos if you spend a half an hour outside climbing, jumping. We got a trampoline this past year, which was probably the best purchase that we've ever made. Jumping, whatever, but you have to do this for half an hour before you're allowed to come back inside to your Legos. And and thank you. And so that helps with that. My girls would probably try any sport that I would allow them to try. So we have to narrow it down and pick one sport a season because of our budget and our time constraints with 4 children. And I think that the littlest one is going to be just like that, ready to go. So for you moms out there, though, that have a child who does not want to be athletic or active and is just sitting there with their video games, I would, there's nothing wrong as a parent with bribery. I'm sorry. It is good parenting to have them, don't even call it bribery. I know parents get hung up on that, but there has to be a checks and balances system. You are the parent. Even if you want to be a friend or their best buddy when they're older, you're a parent right now and they need that structure. So build it in. You want to be on the computer, you want to play Minecraft, you want to do whatever it is you want to do. I want you to keep your body healthy. So you need to have a good snack right now and you need to go outside for half an hour. It is a beautiful day. It is not too hot. You have a bike, go ride it. I will ride with you if you want to. I will walk next to you. Take yourself out there too and walk up and down the street with them. Have a conversation with them. The only way to get them active if they're not is make them. They will become active and they will eventually enjoy it and they will look at it as a connection time with you and with their siblings or with the neighbors. But you have to build that balance in yourself. And it's the same thing with the eating. Implement it slowly, implement the exercise slowly, a little bit at a time, and tie it to something they really, really love. They can't do this until they've done this. They can't eat this until they've eaten this. It just works. It's worked for eons. There's no reason to fight against it. That's parenting at its best. So good luck.
Colleen's cracking me up because we do a lot of the same thing around here. We make it a competition. Um, see who can run down to the creek the fastest, who can win. Which I tried that one day, and it turned into a fight at my house with lots of pushing and shoving. When someone, I'm sure Colleen can figure out who, didn't win. And yeah, she didn't like to play by the rules. So we make it a competition, and I agree with Colleen. Get out there and be with your kids. My kids absolutely love it because I don't do it as often as Dad does. I'm always too busy. You go outside and ride your bike because I'm going to clean the house. But so they love it when I actually appear out in the magical cul-de-sac, which actually equates mom's sanity. When I'm out in the cul-de-sac with them, they love it. They think that's like the greatest thing on the planet, and all I would do is walk outside. So it's terrible that I don't have to do that much to entertain my kids. But anywho, back to basics. So basically, for homeschool moms, it's little things at a time. Get out there and get active. Be an example. If you're eating Doritos and Mountain Dew, then your kids are not going to be eating healthy. That's just the bottom line. And if you're not active with them, chances are they may balk at physical activity too. We're going to wrap things up today, and I'm so glad to have you wonderful ladies here with us today, and I'm glad that our listeners and viewers are watching us and spending time with us today. Once again, I'm going to introduce everybody, or reintroduce everybody. Amy Welling, go follow her over on Google+. Colleen Kessler, you can find her on Google+ too, as well as RaisingLifelongLearners.com. Marlene Griffith is at adiligent.heart.com. And when I'm not representing the iHomeschool Network, you can find me at thekennedyadventures.com. We'll be back for the following couple of weeks on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern with wrapping up our summer wellness series. Next week is stress, sleep, and self-care, something that I'm really excited about because we can all stand a little bit more of that. A little less stress, a little more sleep, a lot more self-care. And then starting after Labor Day, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled homeschool topics. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Goodbye.